Elias Ward was not the type of man who woke up easily. He could sleep through loud machinery, through the constant hum of life support systems, and even through the occasional tremors that shook the huge orbital colony of Halcyon 4. But that night, something pulled him sharply out of his dreams. At first, he could not understand what he had heard. His room was dim, the soft blue emergency lights guiding the night cycle, and everything felt quiet. Then it came again. A knock. Not loud, not repeated. Just a single, firm knock on his door. Enough to send a cold wave down his spine. Elias pushed himself up slowly, rubbing his eyes. He glanced at the digital clock beside him. 2:17 a.m. Nobody visited anyone at this hour, unless something was very wrong. He swung his legs off the bed and stood. The floor under his feet felt colder than usual, like the temperature regulators were struggling. He walked to the door, expecting maybe a message from command, or perhaps an emergency announcement. When he reached for the control panel, he hesitated. Another knock. This one was softer, almost weak. His heart pounded. He unlocked the door. Standing outside was his neighbor, Mira Halden. Elias had seen her many times, but always in calm moments. She was a xenobiologist, smart, collected, and usually so confident that even senior officers listened when she spoke. But right now, she looked nothing like that. Her face was pale. Her hair stuck to her forehead with sweat, and part of her explorer suit was torn along one sleeve. Tiny sparks flickered from the wrist emitter attached to her right arm. She stared at him with wide, frightened eyes. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely more than a whisper. "Please, don't let me go back alone." Elias blinked. "Mira? What happened? Are you hurt?" She shook her head quickly, too quickly. "No time. Please. Just close the door." He stepped aside, and she slipped inside immediately, pressing her back against the wall as though expecting something to attack from the hallway. Elias shut the door and locked it. Only then did she breathe out, long and shaky, like she had been holding her breath for minutes. Elias turned on a soft light. "Okay, start from the beginning." But Mira didn't speak right away. Her hands were trembling. Elias had never seen her like this. He walked to the small counter in his room, grabbed a glass of water, and handed it to her. She took it, but her grip was weak. "It followed me," she said finally, her voice cracking on the last word. "What followed you? From where?" She touched the broken wrist emitter. "The lower decks. We were surveying the old sectors today. The ones marked inactive." Elias frowned. Everyone on Halcyon 4 knew the lower decks existed. Huge, abandoned layers built by the colony founders long before modern upgrades. People said half of them were unstable, others said the air was contaminated, and some claimed they were simply empty and useless. Command didn't bother fixing them. They were just sealed and left alone. Mira and her science team had been deployed to inspect those levels for structural updates. A simple job. Safe. Boring even. "What happened down there?" Elias asked. She swallowed and looked at him with eyes full of fear and confusion. "Something was there with us," she said. "Something that didn't want us to be there." Elias felt a chill run through him, though the room was warm. "A person?" "I don't know," she whispered. "I don't think it was either." She explained in short, broken sentences. Her research team had entered Deck 19B around 21 hours. Everything had looked normal at first. Dusty floors, old consoles, no signs of life. Then they found a section of wall that wasn't in any map. A smooth metallic archway that hummed when they approached it. The air inside felt heavy, like gravity pulling sideways. "We stepped in," she continued, her hands gripping her knees, "and the comms died. Every scanner went blank. And then, the shadows moved." Elias stared at her. "Shadows?" She nodded. "They moved, even when our lights were steady. They slid across the walls, and every time we looked away, they were closer, like they were watching us. His breath caught. This sounded impossible, yet the terror in her voice was too real to dismiss. "What happened to the others?" he asked slowly. "Where are they now?" Mira squeezed her eyes shut. For a moment Elias thought she would break down, but she steadied herself. "They disappeared," she said. "No noise, no footsteps, just gone." Elias felt his pulse spike. "Gone?" "I turned around for a second," she whispered, "and Dr. Lane was no longer behind me. His flashlight was on the ground, still, shining." Elias felt a knot in his stomach. "I called for the others." No answer. My suit sensors weren't detecting anything, not even my own team. It was like the deck was swallowing signals. She lifted her damaged wrist emitter. So I used an emergency short-range teleport. I didn't calibrate it. I just triggered it and ran. I appeared somewhere above, maybe on deck 7. I kept running until I reached this floor. Elias stared at the broken device. Emergency teleporters were only meant for trained personnel. And even then, they could malfunction badly if activated without proper settings. Mira must have been desperate. "And it followed you?" he asked. Her eyes moved to the door. "Yes," she whispered. "Something was in the maintenance shafts. I could hear metal bending. I felt it behind me. It didn't run it. Dragged itself." A cold shiver traveled down Elias's back. He wanted to say she was mistaken, that the lower decks had strange acoustics, or that the emergency teleport disoriented her. But something in her expression told him she was not imagining this. "What do you think it wants?" he asked. "I don't know," she said. "But I know it doesn't want us down there. And I know it's still searching." As if answering her words, the lights flickered. Once, twice, then stabilized. Both of them froze. The room was silent, too silent. Normally, Elias could hear the hum of the colony's machines through the walls. Tonight it sounded softer, like something was absorbing the noise. Mira stood up suddenly. "Elias, we can't stay in this room. If it tracked me here." He held up a hand calmly. "Okay. But first, we need to think." He exhaled slowly. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a scientist. He was a systems engineer. Someone who fixed doors, tuned data lines, and adjusted power relays. But one thing he knew very well was the layout of Halcyon 4. If something strange was moving through the depths of the colony, he might be one of the few civilians who could predict where it might go. He walked to his console and opened a hidden diagnostics program. A map of the colony appeared, glowing in soft lines. Mira watched him with tense eyes. "Are you looking for unusual power readings?" she asked. "Anything," he said. "Heat spikes, pressure anomalies, ventilation shifts." It took only a few seconds before he saw something. A sector on Deck 11 showed pressure fluctuations that didn't match the automated schedule. Something was pushing air through places that should have been sealed. "Elias," Mira whispered, stepping closer. He zoomed in. A maintenance shaft near his floor had been accessed recently, very recently. Elias felt his throat tighten. Something had climbed up from the lower decks. "Do you have any weapons?" Mira asked quietly. "Just tools," Elias replied. "But humans have done more with less." She managed a thin, shaky smile. But the moment didn't last. A heavy sound rolled through the vent above them like metal scraping metal. Slow, deliberate. Mira's face drained of color. "It found me," she whispered. Elias swallowed hard. He didn't know what was in the vent. He didn't know what had taken her team. He didn't know if it was alive or something left behind by some forgotten crew. But he knew one thing clearly, stronger than fear. Mira had come to him because she trusted him, and he would not let her face this alone. "We're leaving," he said firmly. We'll go to the command ring. It's the safest place, and I know the fastest route. Mira nodded, gripping the edge of the table to keep herself steady. Elias grabbed a toolkit heavy enough to use as a weapon if needed and slung it over his shoulder. He checked the corridor through the small security screen. Empty. He opened the door slowly. "Stay close," he said. Mira stepped beside him. The two of them slipped into the silent hallway. Behind them, the vent above Elias's room creaked again. Something shifted inside it, as if tasting the air they had left behind. And in that moment, Elias realized something chilling. Whatever had followed Mira was now following them both. The hallway outside Elias's room was quiet, too quiet for a colony that normally pulsed with the steady rhythm of machines and circulating air. The lights glowed a soft white, but they felt dimmer than usual, as if something invisible was pressing against them. Elias stepped forward slowly, toolkit in hand. Mira stayed close behind him, still shaken, but trying to stay steady. "Which way?" she whispered. "Service corridor," Elias replied. "If we use the main hallway, the cameras might pick us up, and command might lock the doors during night cycle. I don't want us trapped." Mira nodded. She trusted him now, more than ever. They moved toward a small hatch at the end of the hallway. Elias tapped a code into the panel, and the hatch slid open with a soft hiss. The narrow service tunnel beyond was dark, lit only by faint red strips running along the floor. It wasn't a place civilians normally used, but Elias knew every corner of it from years of maintenance work. "Stay low," he whispered. "Sound travels strangely in here." They stepped inside. As the hatch closed behind them, the temperature dropped slightly, and Mira hugged herself for warmth. After a few minutes of walking, she finally spoke. "Elias, I need to tell you more about what we saw." He looked back at her. She took a breath. "When my team found that strange archway in Deck 19B, it was completely smooth. No markings. No seams. It looked new, impossible for something in the abandoned decks." Elias frowned. "Maybe old tech that aged well?" Mira shook her head. "No, the metal wasn't standard alloy. We tested it. It reacted to touch like it was listening." Elias stopped walking. "Listening how?" "When we approached, tiny symbols appeared along its surface," she whispered. "Not human language. More like shapes rearranging themselves in patterns." He felt a small shiver crawl up his arms. "And then, we stepped inside," she said softly. "At first, it was just another chamber. But the deeper we went, the stranger it became." The red lights along the tunnel flickered as if reacting to her words. "What do you mean?" Elias asked. "The walls changed," she said. "Sometimes they looked like metal, sometimes stone, sometimes like they weren't solid at all." Elias felt his stomach tighten. "Illusions?" "No," she said firmly. "Something was shifting the environment, and the shadows." She paused, forcing herself to continue. "They didn't match our movements. They moved when we didn't." Elias didn't know what to say. He worked with machinery, not whatever ancient thing Mira was describing. "Our scanners failed," she added. "All data corrupted, like the place rejected being observed." They continued walking. The service tunnel split ahead. Elias chose the left path. It sloped downward, toward the older decks. "Where are we going?" Mira asked. "To find answers," he said quietly. "If something came up from the lower decks, we need to know what it is and where it is now." She hesitated. "Elias, if my team is still alive, we'll get them back," he said without turning. "Humans don't leave their own behind. Will he like to?" The determination in his voice warmed Mira's chest. It was the first moment she felt hope since she escaped. But that hope flickered when a distant metal clang echoed through the tunnel. Both froze. The sound came from behind them, slow, dragging, scraping metal. Mira whispered. It's here. Elias tightened his grip on the toolkit. Move. Quietly. They hurried forward. The tunnel widened, opening into a maintenance station with old consoles and sealed lockers. A large circular vent on the wall rattled softly. Elias guided Mira behind a pillar. We'll wait. Mira nodded but kept glancing toward the dark vent. For several long seconds, the tunnel was silent again. Then the vent cover twitched. A soft, groaning sound like metal bending under slow pressure filled the station. Mira covered her mouth. Elias stepped slightly in front of her. But nothing emerged. Instead, the vent stilled. As if whatever was inside simply listened. After a tense moment, Elias whispered, It can't detect us clearly. How do you know? Because if it could, he said quietly, it would already be here. He grabbed Mira's hand and pulled her toward the left passage before the thing decided to try again. As they walked deeper, the metal walls slowly gave way to older structures. Pipes covered with dust, broken support beams, dim flickering lights that looked like they hadn't been replaced since the colony's early years. Mira felt her pulse rise. This area is close to Deck 1-4. Exactly, Elias said. Old central systems run under this floor. If something is moving through the colony, it might disturb pressure readings or energy lines. He stopped at an access panel and opened it manually. Sparks jumped from the old circuits. This whole sector shouldn't have power, Elias murmured. But look at this. Mira leaned over. The wires glowed faintly, like something had recently fed energy through them. Whatever followed you, Elias said slowly. They continued downward until they reached a heavy door labeled Deck Access 14, a restricted. The door was sealed with a thick lock and rust around the edges. Elias knelt and opened his toolkit. Mira looked uneasy. Are you sure we should? Command doesn't authorize. Command isn't dealing with this, Elias said simply. We are. It took him only a minute to bypass the outdated circuitry. With a loud hiss, the door slid open. A gust of cold air brushed against them. Deck 1-4A was much darker than the levels above. Elias switched on a small, portable light. The beam pierced the darkness but didn't travel far. Mira whispered, It smells different. Elias noticed that too. The air was dry and heavy, like the oxygen recyclers hadn't touched it in years. They stepped inside. The floor beneath them creaked. Pipes overhead dripped condensation that echoed through the empty corridor. Stay close, Elias said. As they walked, Mira noticed strange marks on the walls, lines and scratches that didn't look natural. She touched one lightly. These weren't here years ago. What type of marks? Elias asked. Like something scraped metal with metal. Elias's expression tightened. The thing hunting us? Maybe, she whispered. A sudden thought hit her. Elias. It didn't move like an animal. It felt more like a machine. He paused. But no machine we built. Before either could say more, a soft hum filled the hallway. Low at first, then rising. It wasn't coming from above or behind. It came from below. Elias turned his light downward. The floor beneath them pulsed. Just for half a second, but enough that both stepped back. What was that? Mira gasped. Elias knelt, shining the light closer. The metal floor was connected to a layer of strange, unfamiliar alloy. The same kind Mira had seen in the mysterious vault on Deck 1-9B. This isn't part of the original colony, he said. This is something else. Mira's voice trembled. The vault is spreading. Elias stood. Then this deck isn't abandoned. It's changing. Reacting. He swallowed, feeling fear mix with something else. A rising anger. Humans had fought through worse. They built, rebuilt, and survived things far beyond logic. No ancient machine or shadow was going to take their people. Elias, Mira whispered, we should go back. This is too deep. No, he said firmly. If your team is stuck somewhere in this thing, then we need to find the source. Mira stared at him. You're willing to go further? You didn't come looking for help to be abandoned again, he said. And humans don't run forever. She felt a surge of strength from his words. Then, I'm with you. They moved deeper into the deck. The hum followed them, changing rhythm as if reacting to their presence. Down the hallway, a faint glow appeared. Soft blue, like light shining through water. That's the same glow we saw before the shadows appeared, Mira whispered. As they approached, the walls shifted subtly, smooth metal, melting into geometric patterns that shimmered like liquid. Elias stopped, breath-catching. This isn't just a structure, he said. It's learning. Mira nodded slowly. When we entered the vault, it reacted to us. It sensed fear. It changed its defenses. And now it's coming here, Elias said. Maybe spreading through the colony. Maybe following you, because you escaped. She looked at him with dread. Can it think? The floor pulsed again. This time, stronger. Elias grabbed Mira's arm. Move! They ran back toward the maintenance station, but halfway through the corridor, a loud crash echoed behind them. Metal twisted. Something heavy entered the deck, dragging across the floor. Mira didn't look back. She didn't need to. She recognized the sound. Elias shouted, Up the stairs! Now! They sprinted up a narrow set of emergency steps, leading back toward deck 1-2. The thing behind them moved faster now, scraping, clawing, forcing itself through the corridor like it belonged to the darkness itself. Mira stumbled once, but Elias grabbed her and pulled her upward. As they reached the top of the stairs, the lights flickered wildly. Elias slammed the emergency hatch shut, sealing the thing below for now. Both collapsed against the wall, gasping for breath. Mira whispered, Elias, it's not just following me. He nodded, face pale but determined. It's following all of us. And somewhere below, the metal groaned again like the colony itself was waking up to something ancient and watching. Elias and Mira sat on the cold metal floor near the emergency hatch for several long minutes, catching their breath. The colony's dim night cycle lights flickered above them, as if warning that the thing below hadn't given up. The metal hatch vibrated once, very softly, before going still again. Mira hugged her arms. That thing, it's not just a creature, Elias. It's connected to the vault somehow. Elias pushed himself up and nodded, still breathing heavily. Then, that means the vault isn't a room. It's a system, a machine, maybe even an intelligence. And it's spreading, Mira whispered. Elias glanced down the hallway. We need more information. And we need to know if your team is still alive. Mira swallowed hard. I hope they are. Elias offered her a hand. Come on. The data hub is 2 corridors away. If anything can tell us what's happening to this colony, it's that place. Mira took his hand and stood. Together, they moved through the quiet upper deck. The corridor felt even more silent than before, as if the colony itself was holding its breath. The data hub was a circular room filled with old monitors, glowing consoles, and humming servers. Elias keyed in his credentials and brought the systems online. Mira stayed near the entrance, her eyes scanning the shadows. The screen flickered and showed a map of the colony's internal structure. Elias frowned. That's strange. What? Mira asked, stepping closer. Deck 19, be the place you entered. It's showing new pathways. They weren't there before. He zoomed in, revealing twisting shapes and tunnels forming in real time. It's growing? Mira whispered. Or changing shape, Elias said. Like it's reorganizing itself. She stared at the map with rising dread. Elias, what if the vault is not just a room on one deck? What if the decks are built around it? What if it's older than the colony itself? Elias looked at her sharply. You think the founders built on top of it? It fits, she said. Some parts of the lower decks were always sealed, with no public explanation. Maybe they discovered something they couldn't understand. He leaned closer to the screen. Look here, heat signatures. Several glowing points blinked within the shifting vault. Mira's heart skipped. Those are my team. They're alive. Elias smiled faintly. Then we find a way to get to them. But the smile faded as he watched the signatures flicker. They were being held in place, suspended, unmoving, but still alive. The vault is keeping them, Elias said slowly, not killing them. Mira felt a strange chill. But why? Before Elias could answer, the screen glitched. The map flickered into static, then reshaped itself into a new image, smooth lines, shifting angles, glowing blue symbols that matched the patterns Mira had seen on the vault walls. What is it doing? She whispered. It's communicating, Elias said, trying to show us something. A new symbol flashed repeatedly. Elias tilted his head. That looks like a warning? Then the entire screen went dark. A low humming filled the room. The lights dimmed. The air turned heavy, like the room itself was being pulled inward. Mira stepped back. Elias, something's happening. He grabbed her hand. Before they reached the door, the metal floor beneath them pulsed. Lines of blue light slithered through the cracks, forming patterns identical to those in the vault. It found us, Elias said through clenched teeth. The hum grew louder, vibrating through their bones. Mira looked toward the back wall. Look! Panels slid open, revealing a narrow passage. The walls inside glowed faintly. Same alien alloy. Same impossible shapes. It's making a path, she said. Elias stared at it. A path to where? She shook her head. Probably the vault. Elias considered their options. The creature below was hunting them. The colony systems were failing. Mira's team was trapped somewhere inside this expanding structure. We go, he said. Mira didn't argue. Let's just hope it's not a trap. They stepped into the passage. The walls moved subtly as they walked, like the structure was breathing. Blue light flowed like water across the surfaces, forming symbols that shifted as they passed. It's watching us, Mira whispered. Elias nodded. Every step. The passage opened into a large chamber that didn't belong anywhere in the colony. Smooth, curved walls, floating geometric shapes. Lights that flickered without any source. The air hummed faintly, almost like a whisper. And in the center, 5 figures suspended inside transparent, shimmering fields. Mira gasped. My team! She rushed forward but stopped when the fields pulsed at her touch. They're alive, Elias said softly. Just unconscious. Mira examined the field. It's stabilizing them, protecting them. Not hurting them, Elias said. Why? Before she could answer, the floating shapes in the ceiling rearranged, forming a single, towering shadow on the chamber wall. Mira froze. That's the same shadow form we saw before, she whispered. The one that followed us. Elias stepped in front of her protectively. The shadow moved slowly at first, then more confidently, like it was studying them. It didn't attack. It simply existed, shifting between shapes and angles. Impossible to fully describe. It's not alive, Mira said. It's a projection. A construct. A defense mechanism, Elias added. The construct tilted its head, or whatever counted as its head, and the humming grew louder. Blue symbols appeared behind it, in lines. Elias stared. It's trying to communicate. Mira stepped forward carefully. What do you want? The construct split into 2 shapes, then rejoined. The symbols flashed again. Elias tapped his wrist console, recording the sequence. The pattern repeats. It's a question. Mira studied the symbols. Not a warning. A question. What question? Why are humans here? She said softly. Elias blinked. Surprised. This vault must have been built long before humans reached this system, Mira explained. Its last memory of intruders probably comes from species completely different from us. The construct shifted again, forming a larger, darker silhouette. The air pressure tightened. It thinks we're a threat, Elias said. It doesn't understand humans. Mira took a slow breath. Then, we make it understand. She stepped forward even though Elias reached to stop her and raised her hands. We mean no harm, she said clearly. We don't want to destroy you. The construct stopped moving. Mira continued. We explore, we learn, and we protect our people. Those you captured, they are important to us. Let them go. The symbols behind the construct flickered rapidly. Elias watched them carefully. It's hesitating. The humming increased. Nearby panels retracted, revealing more glowing circuits and flowing symbols. Elias, Mira whispered. It's reading us. He nodded. Let it. The light grew brighter, warming the chamber. Elias felt something like an invisible wave brushing across his thoughts. Not inside his mind, but observing the surface. Scanning intentions. Then the symbols changed. Elias recognized the pattern immediately. It's testing us, he whispered. Mira frowned. Testing what? Our resolve. The construct slowly approached, its shape towering over them, its edges shifting like smoke made of metal. The team members behind them began glowing brighter, as if the vault was preparing to move them. Mira stood tall. We won't leave without them. Elias stepped beside her. If you want to understand humanity, then understand this. We protect our own. The construct halted. The chamber fell silent. For a long moment, nothing moved. Then slowly the symbols behind the construct shifted into a softer pattern. The humming lowered. The shape shrank, becoming less threatening. Mira whispered. It accepts. One by one, the shimmering fields around her team dissolved. The unconscious scientists floated gently to the ground. Mira rushed to check their pulses. They're stable. Elias felt a wave of relief. Good, now let's get out. But the vault wasn't finished. A new passage opened behind them, glowing brightly. Mira stood. It's giving us an exit. Elias nodded slowly. Not just an exit, an invitation. They helped lift Mira's unconscious teammates and followed the glowing path. The construct remained behind them, watching silently. Before they stepped through the final doorway, Mira turned to look at it. Thank you, she whispered. The construct shifted once, a gesture she could only interpret as acknowledgement. Then the doorway closed behind them, sealing the vault away once more. Elias exhaled heavily as they entered a familiar hallway of the colony. Mira looked at him, exhausted but smiling faintly. Humans, she said softly. Always surprising ancient machines. He chuckled. HFY. But their relief didn't last long. A deep metallic groan echoed through the colony, loud, heavy, spreading like thunder. Mira's smile faded. Elias. Something else is waking up. And far below them, the vault pulsed again, darker this time, like the beginning of a storm. The metallic groan echoing through the colony vibrated the walls around Elias and Mira. It wasn't just noise, it was a warning, a message, a shift deep inside the ancient vault beneath them. Mira's unconscious teammates lay on the floor of the corridor, breathing softly, unaware of the danger growing below. Elias steadied himself and looked toward the lower decks. The vault accepted us. So what is this? Mira knelt beside her team and checked their pulses again. Something else, she said quietly. Something the vault didn't want to wake. Elias didn't like the sound of that. He helped Mira lift one of the scientists over his shoulder. We need to reach the med bay, Elias said. Command will take over from there. Mira nodded, lifting another teammate with difficulty. The remaining two drifted in and out of consciousness, able to walk weakly with support. As they moved through the dim corridor, Emergency lights flickered on and off. The colony felt unstable, like every metal beam was trying to decide whether to stay still or move. The air grew heavy, humming faintly, as if the vault was whispering through the walls. "Elias," Mira said softly, "I think the vault is talking to us." He listened. Beneath the hum was a pattern. 3 pulses. Pause. 3 pulses. Pause. "It's trying to warn us again," he said. "But warn us about what?" They turned a corner and entered the medbay section. The doors opened automatically, and a medic rushed toward them, eyes wide. "By the stars, what happened to them?" he gasped. "We'll explain later," Elias said. "They need immediate care." Medical staff took the unconscious scientists onto hover stretchers and guided them inside. Mira watched anxiously. One of the medics turned to her. "They're stable. No injuries. Just exhaustion and cellular stress. We'll keep them monitored." Mira let out a shaky breath. Elias placed a calming hand on her shoulder. "You saved them," he said gently. But Mira wasn't relaxed. "It wasn't just us. The vault let them go. It understood us." Elias nodded. "Yeah, but I don't think we're done." She met his eyes. "I know." Another deep rumble vibrated through the floor, louder this time. Panels on the ceiling rattled. A distant alarm chimed soft, confused, like the system wasn't sure what the emergency was. Elias turned toward the corridor. "We need to tell command, before the whole colony wakes up to something they're not ready for." Mira followed him as they headed toward the command ring, one of the most secure areas in the colony. The command ring was brightly lit, but the atmosphere was tense. Officers stood around holographic screens showing the colony's internal structure. Energy spikes flashed everywhere, especially near the lower decks. Commander Rios, a broad-shouldered woman with sharp eyes, turned as Elias and Mira entered. "Ward, Halden," she said. "We've been looking for you. Reports say you were in restricted areas, and sensors showed unusual readings." "There's no time for warnings," Elias said. "The lower decks aren't abandoned. Something ancient is down there." Rios raised an eyebrow. Mira stepped forward. "A vault, a structure older than Halcyon 4. It's alive, or at least intelligent. It held my team, studied them, then released them when it realized we were not enemies." Commanders exchanged confused looks. Rios crossed her arms. "And the energy spikes? It's reacting to something else," Elias said. "Something waking beneath it." As if on cue, the entire command floor shuddered. A holographic map flickered, showing a new pulse radiating from deep below. Rios frowned. "What is that?" Mira stared at the readings. "That wasn't the vault." Elias leaned closer. "Another system?" The hologram expanded to show a massive shape beneath Deck 20. A structure larger than the vault and emitting far stronger pulses. Mira whispered. "A second core." Commander Rios stepped closer. "If this is real, why is it activating now?" Mira hesitated. "The vault woke up because we walked into it. Maybe this second system woke up because the vault did." Commander Rios asked sharply, "Is it hostile?" Elias shook his head slowly. "We don't know." Another rumble shook the colony, making lights flicker. Officers grabbed tables for balance. Mira said, "The vault wasn't attacking humans. It was defending itself. But this feels different." Elias watched the energy readings shift again, a rising wave like a heartbeat growing stronger. He stepped back. "We need to talk to the vault again." Everyone stared at him. Commander Rios narrowed her eyes. "You want to go back down there? After everything you just told us?" "If we don't," Elias said, "we don't know what the second core wants, or what it will do." The vault understood us. We made it listen. Maybe we can do it again. Mira nodded firmly. Elias is right. The vault responded to human resolve. Rios hesitated. The command room lights dimmed again, and the floor rumbled a third time. Finally, she exhaled. Fine. But I'm sending a response team with you. Elias shook his head. No. The vault reacted to more people entering. It will shut down or fight back if we go in force. Mira added. It needs to see trust, not weapons. Commander Rios didn't like it, but she saw the logic. Fine, she said. You two go alone. But we'll monitor from here. If anything happens, Elias finished for her. We'll call for help if we can. Descending again into the lower decks felt entirely different this time. The air was heavier, warmer, almost like stepping into the lungs of a sleeping creature. Mira walked beside Elias. Do you think the vault will open for us again? Elias shrugged. It said a lot without speaking. I'm hoping it remembers. As they reached Deck 19B, the strange metallic archway was already glowing. Mira held her breath. It wants us back. I. They stepped through. Immediately, the walls shifted and opened into the chamber where Mira's team had been held. But now, the construct was waiting in the center. Tall, dark, shimmering with unreadable symbols. Elias stepped forward. We came to warn you. The construct tilted. Listening, Mira said, Another core is waking up. Deeper than you. It's sending energy through the colony. Symbols flared behind the construct, sharp lines. Fast movements. Elias frowned. The vault walls hummed louder, stronger. Light rippled like water. Mira watched in awe. The construct extended one shifting arm toward them, and the symbols changed once more. Elias's wrist console translated fragments. Ancient. Uncontrolled. Lost. Mira whispered. The second core isn't like the vault. It's broken. Elias stared at the construct. Can you stop it? The vault responded with a single symbol. Together. Elias felt a surge of determination. Then you guide us. Show us what to do. The walls opened a new path, darker, deeper, glowing with unstable light. The construct moved ahead like a guardian. Elias and Mira followed. The path led them into a chamber far colder than the rest. The metal felt old, cracked, wounded. In the center was a massive sphere, dark, throbbing with energy like a failing heart. The second core, Mira whispered. It pulsed violently. The vault's construct projected symbols, urging them back. Mira shook her head. No. She stepped toward the sphere. Elias grabbed her wrist. Mira, I know what I'm doing, she said. The vault is defending itself. But this second core could tear the colony apart if we don't calm it. Elias swallowed hard, then nodded. We do it together. They both pressed their hands to the surface of the sphere. It burned hot, then cooled instantly. Symbols appeared across the surface. Scanning their intentions, Elias spoke softly. We're not enemies. We're not threats. We're humans. And we protect even things that fear us. Mira added, We don't destroy what we don't understand. We learn. We help. The sphere pulsed once more, then slowly dimmed. The vibrations stopped. The hum softened. Behind them, the vault's construct shifted into a smaller form, a gesture of peace. It's stabilizing, Mira whispered in relief. Elias leaned against the sphere, exhausted. Ancient machines, he muttered. Always waking up at night. Mira laughed softly despite everything. The vault opened a return path. As they stepped out of the core chamber, Elias felt the floor beneath him grow calm. The colony was safe. For now. Back in the command ring, Commander Rios greeted them with stunned relief. You two just prevented a disaster, she said. Mira smiled tiredly. Humans can do that sometimes. Elias chuckled. HFY. Rios shook her head with a faint smile. I don't know what that means. But thank you. Later, when the colony finally settled into quiet again, Mira turned to Elias. You know, she said softly. Next time I wake you in the middle of the night, I hope it's for something quieter. Elias grinned. Next time, we handle it together from the start. They walked side by side down the corridor, knowing humans had earned the respect of something ancient, something powerful, something older than stars. And knowing that, in this strange universe, humanity still had one of the strongest voices. We protect our own, and we don't walk back alone.